So the day after Thanksgiving, the Trump administration announced another agreement with an American university, in this case, Northwestern University. And it's really striking if you look at the language that the Department of Justice, Trump's Department of Justice, uses in describing the terms of this agreement. So let me just quote a couple of elements from it. The Justice Department writes that Northwestern University will, quote, safeguard its students, employees, and faculty from unlawful discrimination based on race, religion, sex, and national origin, including race-based admissions practices and a hostile educational environment directed towards Jewish students. And then it goes on that the university will ensure that it, quote, does not preference individuals based on race, color, or national origin in admission, scholarships, hiring, or promotion. And then it goes on to say that it will implement mandatory anti-Semitism training for all students, faculty, and staff. So what do you notice about this language? On the one hand, the Trump administration is boasting that Northwestern is going to treat all students equally, irrespective of race, religion, national origin, etc. And then literally in the next sentence, it says, and it's also going to do this special thing to protect Jewish students, this special thing to fight against anti-Semitism. Essentially, what it's doing is it's putting the safety and rights of Jewish students in a separate category from the safety and rights of all other students. This is really a disastrous, I think, development actually for Jewish students on campus and for American Jews in general. The position of American Jewish Organization should be that Jewish students on campus should be treated exactly the same as everybody else. And that should be part of a broader strategy and struggle among American Jewish organizations to say that the struggle against anti-Semitism will be part of a larger struggle against all forms of bigotry. But that's not what the Trump administration wants at all, actually, because the Trump administration takes a completely different view about what it calls bigotry towards Jewish students than, let's say, bigotry towards, let's say, Muslim students or Black students, right? Because when it comes to Muslim students, the Trump administration doesn't think bigotry is a problem at all. In fact, the Trump administration is very blatantly practicing bigotry, right? Donald Trump just the other day basically was making fun of Representative Ilhan Omar's hijab. This is an administration that has said that the only immigrants it wants to come to the United States are white South Africans, that it wants to cut off all third world immigration. It's an administration that demonizes trans students, right? So it's basically what the administration is doing is creating a two-tier system in which it essentially says that Jewish students should have particular protections, which are different, superior protections for their concerns and their safety than other students, right? Now, perhaps if we lived in a world in which Jewish students were uniquely threatened, there might be some justification for that. But that's really not the case at all. Yes, Jewish students face anti-Semitism, of course, right? But actually, given the state-sponsored bigotry against Muslims, against Black people, against trans people, they are actually at greater risk than Jewish students. And the polls actually, the data from college campuses actually, bear this out. That when Harvard University created an anti-Semitism task force and an Islamophobia task force, they simply asked Muslim and Jewish students at Harvard whether they felt unsafe. And they found that while only 26% of Jewish students said they felt unsafe, 56%, more than twice as high percentage of Muslim students said they felt unsafe. So there's no logical, empirical basis whatsoever for basically suggesting that there's a kind of crisis around the treatment of Jewish students and that you're going to therefore treat them in a fundamentally different way than you treat other groups of students. What the Trump administration is really doing is creating a two-tier system in which it creates a kind of Jewish supremacy on college campuses because the rights of Jewish students are considered more important than the rights of other students. This is, in a way, a kind of importing of the Israeli model of what makes Jews safe, as opposed to the traditional American model, which comes out of the American Jewish role in the civil rights movement, which argues that the safety of American Jews comes from arguing for equality under the law and fighting against bigotry for all groups. But you have elements in the organized American Jewish community which is essentially allied with the Trump administration's strategy. This is not just terrible for all of those other groups that that have the rights and concerns of their students not being taken, not being centered, right? But it also is very, very bad for Jewish students. It's very bad for Jewish students to be singled out in this way. That in a weird way, the claim that Jewish students deserve certain kind of superior protections is actually the very much the flip side of this rising anti-Semitism, particularly on the right, which sees the idea that Jews have certain special protections or special influence, power, as they see it in the United States, and actually that fuels their hostility to Jews. This Trump administration effort is actually very, very dangerous, I think, for Jewish students as well as all other as well as all other students. And it should be rejected by American Jewish leaders who should make it very clear that they don't want special privileges for Jewish students. They want the same standard for Jewish students and all others. That would mean actually rejecting what the Trump administration is trying to do at places like Northwestern.